So I was rewatching War of the Worlds, the 2005 movie, a couple days ago, and I noticed something kind of interesting about the choices made by the US military in fighting the alien invaders, so I figured today we could take a closer look at some of the strategies and tactics used by the Americans in that movie and maybe discuss whether or not they really make sense. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So before we begin, I want to throw one thing out there. I acknowledge here at the start of this video that the US military is fighting an enemy they don't fully understand, and as the viewer, really neither do we. While we get to see a lot of what the aliens are capable of in the movie, we by no means see everything, and some things are hinted to but never shown, so we don't exactly know everything that the military knows, and they don't know everything that the Martians are capable of. I will also be referring to them as both Martians and aliens. I know in the sort of universe of the 2005 film, they're not from Mars, but in the greater lore of War of the Worlds, they are, so I'll use those two terms interchangeably. So while we only see one major engagement in between the military and the aliens in the film, we do hear about one a little bit earlier on. We hear that the military had set up defensive perimeters and that they were faced with the approaching war machines. However, these war machines were protected under shield generators that were impenetrable to human weapons, which made basically the entire US military completely ineffective. Now, it's also clear from this same sequence that they have taken down a jet airliner, so it's understandable that air support is questionable. So, at this point in the film, keep in mind we're before the crossing of the Hudson River, it's established that the Martians have impenetrable force fields around their war machines, and that they're able to take down aircraft. We later see them taking down a high-speed train, by the way, so it can be assumed that they really can target vehicles moving at fast speeds as well. Now that brings me to the actual battle sequence. We only see one major engagement in between the US military and the war machines in the entire film. We do see a minor one near the end, but we're going to ignore that one for now because that's under special circumstances. We're going to focus on this battle, this Hilltop Battle as some people have referred to it as. In this engagement, you have a stream of refugees moving behind this hilltop, while the US military is set up at the top of the hill in an effort to stop advancing alien war machines. Now this battle seems to have been raging before the arrival of a large body of refugees, so there is a question as to why this defensive line was set up here to begin with. For starters, this doesn't appear to be a great defensive position. Now, we know nothing about the other side of the hill, but from this vantage point, we don't see any trees or cover. They seem to have just parked a row of heavy armored vehicles in the middle of a field on top of a hill and opened fire from there. There doesn't seem to be much of an effort to try to protect these vehicles against incoming fire, which once again, we can assume that the Martians are capable of advanced direct fire over very long distances, seeing as their weapons are mostly energy-based. On top of that, the audio and even a good number of the visuals seem to strongly suggest that a good portion of this military force is infantry, which is very odd because they'd be using things like small arms against enemies that have proven to be untouchable to much larger munitions like tank shells, for example. But the ground forces aren't the only things attempting to hold back the aliens. We see the use of Apache gunships in this engagement, and even some close air support from fighter jets. Now, some people have suggested that this defensive line was set up simply to protect this column of refugees and keep the Martians back, but if the US military is now aware that their weapons are basically completely ineffective against the aliens, wouldn't setting up a defensive line in between the aliens and the refugees serve to only draw the Martians' attention even closer to the refugees? After all, the aliens have no reason to advance slower when under fire. They can simply keep firing and moving forward with their shield, and as long as the humans don't get close enough to be within their shields, they are untouchable. As such, it really makes more sense for a defensive perimeter like this set up in the open in a completely exposed area to be a diversion and not necessarily a defensive position. So they're trying to distract the aliens away from something else, but what could that be? Once again, people have suggested that they're trying to sort of protect the refugees, but at that point, it would make more sense to set up these forces either in nearby tree lines, which we see on either side of the hill, where they could be better protected and maybe stand a chance at distracting the aliens as they try to clear out the defenders, or in a completely different area altogether to try to draw the attention of the Martians to something other than the mass of unarmed civilians moving through the area. All in all, though, this battle seems to take a very weird turn part of the way through. First things first, this defensive line seems to hold for a very, very long time. We see several minutes of basically continuous fire, and when our main characters arrive at the site, there is already a battle going on, so the implication is that this fight has been going on for quite some time, and so it seems like this military unit has been engaged with the Martians for a while, and then all of a sudden, it's over. The fighting is done. The human forces are completely wiped out in a giant ball of fire, something that is within the capabilities of the Martians for sure, and the aliens are advancing over the hill. So why exactly did this fight last that long? If the aliens could simply wipe this military formation off the map, why hadn't they done it sooner? And it's clear that by the time they do this, they're basically right on top of the human formation, so why wait till they get that close? Ultimately, this battle sequence is really cool, but it raises a lot of questions as to how the actual combat in between the aliens and the humans really played out within this universe. Although this is just one minor gripe, ultimately I really like the movie, and I love the way it depicts the Martian war machines, one of the most iconic features of War of the Worlds, and if you'd like to learn more about the vicious Martian tripod war machines, I'll leave a link up here to my video on that. And I'd like you to let me know down in the comments whether you think this defensive strategy makes sense. What do you think the US military was trying to achieve by setting up that defensive line there? And, you know, do you think they were successful? Do you think they actually did stall the Martians from reaching the refugees or achieving whatever goal they set out to achieve? And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover in science fiction, you can leave that down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.